Grand Rising, everyone. It's the Glamorous Granny number 7 on TikTok. And it's Daily Sure host today. Let me put my glasses on here. Hello, everybody. Everything happens for a reason. Our scripture for this morning is from Deuteronomy 31, chapter 31, verse 8. Therefore, accept each other just as Christ has accepted you, so that God will be given glory. My T-shirt today, it says, "Why were you born?" See the baby? Why were you born? Anybody know that? We read about a cup of fire. Intensity great, but who wants to live life on fire? Who wants to struggle and sacrifice that come with having a mission? Who wants to be inevitable, frustrated, and defeats that come with dealing with powerful forces? Even Jesus didn't always feel up for his mission. He spent his 20s avoiding high intensity living he must have known was his destiny. Later, fully appreciating what he got himself into, he said, "Make this cup pass me, from me," responding as anyone would to a mission entrusted to him. May this cup pass from me. He said, "May this cup pass from me." Okay. We're going to talk about Grace's mission, a lady named Grace. Grace's missions. Since she was a child, Grace was quite overweight. When she graduated from college, she weighed 200 pounds. The one thing that angered her more than anything else was people who talked to her as if losing weight was a new idea. Wow. And if she hadn't had many painful disasters experienced with diets, fat camps, you name it. As a young woman, she decided that all she could do was accept herself exactly as she was. Grace knew it would be tough to find a guy who could see beyond her alternative image of feminine beauty. Hold on. But she hoped for the best. Years passed, dates were few and far between. Grace had a couple of brief relationships, but it was rough, particularly since, as a music industry publicist, she ran with conscious crowds, them Barbie doll people, real thin people. They like, you know what I mean? Um, she found that the guys she went out with who didn't mind her being so overweight were either weird or had self image problems themselves. You see, Grace said to me, "I literally wouldn't want to belong to a club that would have me for a member." She seemed to have a sense of humor about her situation, but there was a deep sadness below the surface. The part that really got to her was her sense of the wasted all. She knew she was really a good person with a lot of love to give, and yet she might never move off the shelf because of a problem with the package. Grace found she was deeply moved whenever she heard stories of people with untapped potential sitting on the shelf somewhere going to waste. Hmm. Then she saw there was more than one way to feel like a waste, more than one way to do something about it. Her being someone with a lot of energy, talent, and desire to help was also a waste, and yet she was doing nothing about it. Through her work, she caught a glimpse of a talented young woman from a distant disadvantaged backgrounds who had no way of creating a future in the music industry for themselves. They needed help, advice, mentoring. Some of them needed to be shown ways to turn talent into marketable products. Others needed to be shown alternative ways of having careers in the music industry. Otherwise, what they had to offer would go to waste. So Grace had a moment of grace. She had a vision of living life more intensely. She put her free time into starting a nonprofit organization that would reach out into the neighborhoods and give these young women the help Grace knew they needed. Grace worked with both music industry movers and shakers, as well as community leaders to get the funding. She also directly mentored and counseled girls herself. I love it, Grace said to me. It always makes me feel so much better than you think something like this. It makes me feel good because I really think we're saving so many of these girls from wasting their lives and their talents. As smart and self aware as Grace was, she initially couldn't see that the wonderful work she did and the way it made her feel was the meaning of what she'd gone through as an overweight woman in America today. I felt I needed to push Grace to help herself. Okay, I said, now complete the sentence. Everything happens for a reason, and the reason I've lived through this difficult situation of feeling unattractive and not being in a relationship was, I guess, I could help disadvantaged kids find their way in the music business. Okay, but now let's get at a deeper meaning. I think the reason you've had such a personal struggle was so you could find something you passionately believed in. And I think the reason this needed to happen the way it did is because I think this is something that scars you. Whoa, Grace says, what do you mean? There you were, just starting out as an adult. You're working, you see all these kids, and you know who don't have a chance. It had to be heartbreaking and tell me if I'm wrong. But you had to have been thinking, I've got to do something about this. But you also must have seen that there was a little you as a person could do. Now I'm really going out on a limb here. But I'm thinking that somehow when you were growing up, you got the message that you weren't important. And if you didn't do something big, Grace jumped on this. You know what? My parents used to say to me when I come crying to them because someone made fun of me for being fat, they say, you'll show them. And the more often I cried, the worse the incident, and the more they made a big deal about it. How was I going to show them all one day? Mm. You know, I didn't think the whole time I was growing up that I knew what it meant to show them. But yeah, I always felt I was going to have to do something big. But all I got so tied up in my image of myself, that's what I think. I had to become successful in this really cool business. I needed a big hit of both success and coolness to really show them. But that was for them. Working with these disadvantaged girls really was for me. I wasn't pleasing anyone except myself. I mean, suppose I'd never been fat. I often wondered about that. You know, you never know. But I keep thinking that my parents pressuring me all the time to show them wasn't just about my being fat. I think it would have been under that kind of pressure under any condition. It's just how parents were. And I'm not sure I wasn't Little Miss Superficial myself growing up. Excuse me. Maybe I needed to experience what it was like to be downtrodden, to be able to care about people who were downtrodden. So I could do something that could show me I really did have something special to offer. Not just cool, but truly valuable. It's so funny. I'd always thought of my body as a trap. Now I see how, in another way, it let me out of a trap. Now I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna read. Oops, one more. Got to mark it in there so I don't reread y'all the same thing. Waking up to your mission. Maybe you're like Grace. The meaning of what you went through was so you could discover your mission. You've already discovered it, or or maybe this is your meaning, but you haven't discovered your mission. Maybe the very idea that you have a mission is a new one for you. Either you need to see if this is the reason why you've gone through what you did. Please answer the following diagnostic questions to see if this reason fits you. First one, have you always had in the back of your mind a desire to make a sacrifice, excuse me, for something you believe in? Question, have you ever had in the back of your mind a to make a sacrifice for something you believe in? Growing up, did you get the message that you have to do something big or important with your life? Do you sometimes feel you have to justify your existence as if just living your life or not hurting anyone weren't enough? Is feeling proud of yourself something that matters or a great deal? Hmm. And when you think of feeling proud of yourself, that it always feel connected to something that will make a big difference. Having your heroes typically been people whose lives are defined by the intensity with which they lived or how they stood up for what they believe in. If you answer yes to three or more of these questions, then the reason you've gone through what you've gone through is so you'd be freed up to live your life with a special intensity based on something you wanted to accomplish or a way you wanted to live. This doesn't mean you have to devote your entire life to fighting for a cause. It doesn't mean that the cause has to be one of that meaningful to anyone but you. It could be a voluntary at a church, synagogue, mosque, temple. It could be working with your neighbors to plant flowers to make your street beautiful. It could be traveling to every remote corner of the world. It could be living in such a way that you never have time for television. The point is, though, that you're not doing it, just keep busy or because your friends are doing it. You're doing it because you see deep within something that gives meaning to your life. And you know you need more of a sense of meaning. Hmm. We talked about mission, Grace's mission. We're going to go back over the questions again. Waking up to your mission, ask yourself these questions. I'm going to repeat them again. Have you always had in the back of your mind a desire to make a sacrifice for something you believe in? Something you believe in. Growing up, did you get the message that you have to do something big and important with your life? Something to think about. Do you sometimes feel you have to justify your existence as if just living your life and not hurting anyone weren't enough? Hmm. Is feeling proud of yourself something that matters a great deal to you? And when you think of feeling proud of yourself, does it always feel connected to something that will make a difference? Have your heroes typically been people whose lives are defined by the intensity with which they lived or how they stood up for what they believe in? Waking up for your mission. So, everything happens for a reason. And we'll read our scripture again. Scripture is, therefore accept each other just as Christ has accepted you, so that God will be given glory. Deuteronomy 31:8. Today's prayer. I can give you an affirmation. You are capable of amazing things. We are, we are, we are. We will continue reading. Everything happens for a reason. This is your host, Elise. Also, Glamorous Granny number 7 on TikTok. Remember, why were you born this morning? Think about Grace. Grace was a heavy set. She said she was fat. But I said overweight woman that was trying to find her mission. But she found her mission by helping, she said, disadvantaged girls. We can go out and help anybody. Help someone plant flowers. Help when somebody, right now it's the winter solstice. Help some, just get up and help. You can find your purpose within your passion. Remember, everything happens for a reason. By Myra Kirschbaum. We're almost to the end of this book. And just remember to smile. Remember to smile. Study with excitement. Meditate with intentions. Inspire others. Laugh hysterically and elevate yourself. Do something different. Don't do the same thing you did last year. Do something different. Remember to smile. Peace.